let's move to this. 30 years ago this week, the last prisoner walked out of Robben Island. For decades, the prison held some of the most famous political prisoners. A veritable who's who of liberation icons spent time on the island. Many of the activists who were imprisoned in the latter days of the island received a stellar education in politics from the elders. Now, Jeremy Very was a prisoner on Robben Island from around 1987. He was in his 20s at the time, and he joins us now. Jeremy, thank you so much. So, am I correct that you were in prison from 1987? You were a member of Umkhonto weSizwe?
Yes, that is correct, yes.
So Robben Island, I mean, a place of incredible pain, but also resilience and education. I wonder if you could take us back to the moment you first walked into the prison. What were your expectations and what were your experiences while there?
Firstly, being in Umkhonto weSizwe in the underground environment, although we were politically schooled in the basic philosophy and ideology of the African National Congress, as expressed in mass struggle outside, I looked forward to deepening my theoretical understanding of how we see nationalism, of how we see socialism, and also, given that I'm a socialist myself, and at that point, I needed to understand it wider than just the Soviet experience, but understand socialism for what it truly represented before it became the aberration that it became, or through its misapplication in certain contexts. So that is the kind of spirit in which I went in, with quite a thirst for intellectual deepening of my understanding of revolutionary morality, of the revolutionary tasks facing our society as expressed in the strategy and tactics of the ANC and the Freedom Charter, and our aspirations as mine, particularly as a socialist, and placing in the organization from that perspective. So I went in there with that understanding. I was fortunate on Robben Island to be part of the political school, given my background as a teacher. I was quickly absorbed by one of the leading commissars in D section where I was, in Police Patani, and under his study was part of a group of commissars who trained deeper in the understanding of the theoretical questions and the politics of the ANC. So that was, and I also became a teacher of that in Kabulu classes. I would then offer that classes to others in the later stage of my stay on Robben Island.
I know that you were not on Robben Island because, of course, Mandela was transferred to Pollsmoor in 1982, so you wouldn't have met him in prison. But you did later go on to become his bodyguard, I understand. I wonder if you could just tell us briefly about...
Firstly, let me just say I did meet him in prison, but I didn't know it was him.
What?
While I was awaiting trial in 2007 for terrorism, I was put in a section, when I was in section 2, amongst very senior prison gang leaders and all those things, myself and Police Patani. And during that period, prisoners referred to the old man who's just next door in the adjoining section, which was the section of A section, but the next section adjoining. And on one of the occasions, first I passed him, I didn't know he was. And then on a second occasion later, when the other group, the larger group of my co-accused joined me while we were on trial of terrorism, we walked past him one day in the passage. Obviously, the warder didn't tell us anything. He said he wants us to go help him with some stuff. That was Warden Brandt at the time. He didn't tell us who was standing in front of him. This tall man was greeting us, and we didn't actually recognize him because my picture was only the picture on the Free Mandela campaign pictures that we had outside, and
Yeah.
There was certainly no resemblance to that picture. So I did meet him at that point in time without actually knowing who he was. But my becoming his bodyguard was after my release in prison. I was released in June 1990. I went straight into the NCA's intelligence wing and security in about November, December, both months. With a few others, we were trained by his request with the British Special Air Service, and 15 of us made it through that training and ended up being selected as his bodyguards. So that's how I ended up working. So from about December, I would say 1990, right through occasionally, right through, I traveled with him inside the country into quite odd zones in KZN, and spent time with him outside of the country.
And thank you so
various,
much.
occasions.
Thank you very much for sharing some of your memories. I wish we had more time to talk to you. But Jeremy Very, ex-political prisoner who spent time on Robben Island, thank you very much for your time this evening.